Welcome to our weekly Forex forecast, and this is for trading for the week of January 27th to 31st, 2020. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our calendar. And in terms of let's get to the right week here. Okay, so in terms of the news, before we dive into this, one thing that we have to pay attention to is the virus that's going around. Right now, China has 2 cities that are locked down, and the threat of virus is getting a little bit stronger than it was before. Markets have kind of been ignoring it, but this can have an impact on the market. So just keep that in mind. Generally, when there are problems, the equity markets tend to drop, and we see like Swiss franc, we see Japanese yen, these safe haven currencies tend to go up, and gold and silver as well. So just keep an eye out on the news and see what's going on with the virus situation, because that could have an impact on the markets. All right, so let's take a look at the news now. Coming up here on Monday here, we have Euro German IFO business climate. So ECB announcement that came out last week was it was dovish, and as a result we saw euro drop. So ECB wants to take a look at the monetary policy and see what they can do with that. So if the numbers here start coming in below expectations, that can push euro down further. So keep that in mind. And then we also have one of the FOMC members speaking. So right now we are getting back into that phase where the central banks will become more important and the monetary policy will become more important. So just keep an eye on that. There's Bank of Japan core CPI yearly numbers here. Even though this is not marked as red, this is important because inflation numbers are one of the numbers that the central banks track. So if the inflation is not in line with expectations, that can have an impact on the currency. And then on Tuesday here, we do have consumer confidence numbers. These numbers are very important. So if they come in below expectations, we could see a negative impact on US dollar or vice versa here. CPI numbers, again, inflation numbers, like I just said, they're very important numbers that the central banks track. Reserve Bank of Australia, they did a rate cut and then they stopped. So if the number is not good here, or if the numbers coming out of Australia are not good, then we could see central bank taking more action, which will be negative for the currency. So just keep that in mind. And along the theme of the central banks, we have FOMC this Wednesday here. Right now, Fed is not looking to cut rates at this point. What we have to pay attention to is, again, the commentary, just like ECB, and we saw Bank of Canada was concerned about the economy, and they actually, the forecast was reduced. So if we see similar concerns from the Fed as well, or if they give any indication of when the future rate cuts will come, all of those could be negative for the US dollar, and we could see a drop. So generally, if they don't change anything from what they have said previously, we are not likely to see an impact. But now that we are into the new year, we could see a change in either the stance, or they may talk about the rate cuts or the conditions of the market. So this would be an important one to pay attention to. And then on Thursday here, we have another central bank. So expect volatility in the market. We have Bank of England here. So at this point, we are not expecting a rate cut. However, because we are getting close to the deadline for Brexit here, pound will be normally it is going to be volatile. And with Bank of England thrown into the mix, expect higher volatility from your British pound here. And at this point, so far, Bank of England has kind of held their course. They have they haven't made any kind of comments about cutting rates, but if they change that, or if they express concern in terms of the state of the economy after Brexit, that would be that could cause British pound to drop. So we need to pay attention to that. We also have advanced GDP numbers out of the US. Again, GDP numbers are important. So if they do not line up with expectations here, we will see an impact on the US dollar. US dollar has done well last week, but if the numbers, like if FOMC is not good and these numbers are not good, we could see US dollar drop, which means all the other crosses could go up against it. We also have manufacturing PMI numbers out of China. For China, manufacturing PMI numbers are very important. First of all, PMI numbers are precursors to retail sales. They're leading indicators, so they are important. But China, because they are a big manufacturing center, the manufacturing PMI numbers are more important than the services PMI numbers. So with this one, you may not directly trade Chinese yuan, but this also has an impact on Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. When the Chinese numbers come out, Chinese numbers come out positive, we generally see Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar go up as a result, because they are big trade partners with China. So when China does well, Australia and New Zealand exports do well as well. And then on Friday here, we have some European numbers here, but this is the one that I would look at, the CPI numbers. Like I said, inflation numbers are very important. And then we have GDP numbers out of Canada, as well as employment numbers here. So that's it for the week. So let's go on to our charts here. Okay, so we'll start off with weekly. Last week we had a nice pin bar on the weekly here. We were looking for a drop in the euro, so we got that. And now it is into support, so just keep that in mind. But bias is still to the downside here. First target will be 1.0920. And in terms of the pullback, I would look at 1.1080 as a potential level for a pullback. And then I'm looking for a drop. So basically, bias is to the downside. This is the type of move I would look for. Now, as we get closer to these support levels here, just be careful, because this is where price had turned previously, and we could see similar reaction here as well. So that's something to keep in mind, but bias is to the downside. 1.0920 is the first target. 1.0880 will be the second target, or potentially even 1.0850. So those are the levels to watch. With pound here, pound has been a back and forth. So it's been trading in this bit of a range here over the last little bit. This candle here is not a very strong candle. It does have bullishness in it, but it's not very strongly bullish either. So my bias here is neutral. We could see price go up and then into resistance, and if it doesn't break through that, I will look for it to come back down. So I'm looking for 1.32 as a target, and then if it stays below, I'm looking for it to come back towards the bottom of the range at 1.2950. So my bias for pound dollar is neutral for the week. And Aussie here, Aussie dollar, we had a nice pin bar on this one as well, and we got the corresponding move to the downside here. And now we're still bearish on this. The first target would be 0.6950, and the second target here would be 0.6670. So bias is to the downside, and in terms of the pullback, watch out for 0.6870 potentially, and then looking for a drop here. So bias is to the downside for Aussie dollar as well. New Zealand dollar here. New Zealand dollar hasn't really done a whole lot. The candle close here is neutral. which means this can go in either direction. It is into support. So neutral bias overall, it is pulling back after this big move to the upside, but the bias is neutral. So in this case, I would just look for it to trade between these two levels here. So I'm looking to see which direction it wants to break out. So if it goes through the high, I will look for, so this to the high of this candle, I will look for it to go higher, or if it drops through the support level here, then I'm targeting the lower level. So at this point, neutral bias for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD here, Canadian dollar did not do so well after Bank of Canada. The statement was actually not very positive. They were concerned about the economy. They lowered the forecast for this year, and as a result, we have seen dollar CAD go up because Canadian dollar weakened. At this point, bias is bullish. It is into resistance, so keep that in mind, because if it doesn't go through, it's likely to come back down, but it is bullish bias, so I would look for a move higher. So target here is 1.3265, and then potentially higher here. Let's just mark that up, 1.3330. So first target 1.3265, second target 1.3330. So bias is bullish for dollar CAD. Euro pound here, Euro pound dropped, and now we are into support. So support coming all the way from here. So we just need to be careful with this one. Bias is bearish. Watch out for a pullback into this support resistance level, and then looking for a drop here. So bias is bearish. First target would be 0.8380, and then the second target here, we're looking at 0.8300. So bearish bias for Euro pound. Swiss franc here, Euro Swiss franc looking bearish here. Last week we had a nice bearish candle close. This one is nice bearish candle close here as well. We have a pin bar. Now, something to keep in mind here is we are coming into some higher levels of support. So bear that in mind, because price could turn. So overall bias here is bearish. A nice pin bar here. So I do like this one. Bias is bearish. In terms of the pullback here, so we could look for a pullback into 1.0730 level coming all the way from here. Now, it could go a little higher as well. So just keep that in mind, 1.0750 or 1.0730. So those are the two levels to watch in terms of pullback. And then I'm looking for a drop. So bearish bias for this one as well. I do like the nice pin bar. First target 1.0660, then 1.0620. So bearish bias for Euro Swiss franc. Pound Swiss franc here, this one went up just like we saw with pound dollar. Pound has been volatile over the last week. So just bear that in mind. The bias here is neutral again. It's trading in a bit of a range. So it's been below this 2780 level and stayed above 1.2540. So this is the range it's been trading in. So what I'm looking for is, because there's bullishness in this candle, I'm looking for it to go higher towards 1.2780, and then if it doesn't go through, potentially for a drop. Now we just we'll have to watch and see what happens here. But if it does go through, then I'm looking for this 1.2900 will be the next target. For now, my bias is neutral. I'm just looking for pound to trade in a range for this week. Dollar Swiss franc here. This This one came into the support. Now we have a bit of a bullish candle close here, but it's also been trading in this range for a few weeks now. So here I'm looking for a retest of this immediate level, actually, right into the support resistance level at 0.9740. So I would look for a move higher towards that. And if it doesn't go through, we could see another drop here. But US dollar last week did well, but we do have FOMC this week, which could shake things up for US dollar. So just keep that in mind. The central banks can really move the markets. So we could expect volatility. So I would say bias here is slightly bullish here. 0.9740 is the first target. 0.9800 would be the second target here for dollar Swiss franc. Having said that, though, with the virus situation, should there be more concern in that regard, we are likely to see dollar Swiss franc drop as well with other Swiss franc crosses. Okay, so let's take a look at our Japanese yen. Japanese yen is also a safe haven currency. It gets impacted by situations like the virus and so forth, any kind of geopolitical situations as well. So keep the situation with the virus in mind as you're trading this week. So with pound yen, this has also been trading in a range. We have a nice pin bar here. So looking for price to drop towards the bottom here, 140.80. That's the first target. So bearish bias for pound yen. And only if it breaks through that, because it's still in a range. Last time it came into the support and bounced off of that. So we have to watch out for 140.80. If it goes through, then 138.80. Otherwise, just 140.80 will be the target. So bias here for pound yen is bearish. Euro yen here, this one dropped quite nicely, partly because of ECB and just partly because the yen crosses were weak. So with this one, we have a nice bearish candle close, but this has also been trading in a range for a bit. So I would watch this 120 level. If it doesn't break below 120, this one could go back into the range. So bias is bearish. I would just keep an eye on 120 there. In terms of the pullback here, we could get a pullback into 121.30 or somewhere around 121, and then a drop from there. So bearish bias here for euro yen. Dollar yen here, this one has also dropped, and we have a bearish engulfing candle close here. So looking for price to drop further. And first target is 108.80, second target 108, just 108. So bias is bearish for dollar yen as well. In terms of the pullback, this is a good pullback level at 109.80, and then looking for a drop here. So this is bearish. Aussie yen, sorry. Aussie yen, this is looking bearish as well. We have a nice bearish candle close here. In terms of the pullback, we could get a pullback into 75.20. First target is 73.50, and then looking for a further drop into 72.80. So bias is bearish for Aussie yen. New Zealand yen here, this one is also bearish, but it's not as strong as Aussie. So, or I should say it's not as weak as Aussie. So bias is bearish here. And our first target here is the support at 71.20. Second target is 70.40. So bias is bearish for New Zealand yen as well. CAD yen, also a nice big drop in this one. Bias is still bearish here. We could get a pullback into 83.50, then looking for a further drop here. 81.80 is the first target, and then we have 81.20 is the second target. So bias is bearish for CAD yen as well. All right, so let's move on to our commodities now. We'll take a look at silver here. This is the daily chart. So silver went into support, could not break through the support level, and we talked about this in one of the daily analysis calls, and now it has bounced off of that. So as we if we start hearing more concern about the virus here, this one could go higher. So just keep that in mind. Overall, bias is bullish here. It is into resistance, so that's something we have to be very careful about, because if price does not break through the high, it can come back down like it did previously. So here we had a nice strong bullish candle, but it bounced off. So even though this is a nice strong bullish candle, it could still go into bounce off of this resistance, because this is the range that it's been trading in for several days here. So keep that in mind. So it is bullish, just with caution here. We do have a bullish pin bar, so I will look for price to go to the next level here. 18.45 is the first target, and then we have 18.65 as the second target. So bias is bullish. The caution would be the high of the range at 18.15. If it doesn't go through, look for that drops, just like it did here. So we had a nice bullish pin bar here, and then we got this big drop. So it could happen, so be cautious. Or sorry, gold here. Gold is looking bullish. It was in the range here for a bit. It's starting to break out of the range, so this is looking bullish. And at this point, I just need to zoom out a little bit to get our target levels here. So the first target is 1590, and then we have 1620. So for this one, so 1590 is the first target, 1620 is the second target, and in terms of pullbacks, we're looking at 1560. So going back to weekly, I will look for a bit of a pullback if we get that, and then a bullish move higher. 1590 and 1610 will be the next two targets. Oil here, oil has been dropping because one of the reasons oil is dropping is because of the virus situation in China. So anytime there's political, not political, but any situation like this that is very concerning, we see an impact on the market. China is a big consumer of oil, and with the Chinese economy under threat now because of the virus and the situation here, oil is dropping. So bearish bias here. We have seen a big drop. Many times you can get pullbacks out of that, so that's something to keep in mind. Next target is to the downside, so bias is bearish here. And in terms of pullback, I will look for 55.70, and then lower move into 52.70, and then 51. So bias is bearish for oil. Copper here, huge drop in copper as well. Same situation here with the Chinese economy being impacted. We have an impact. We have impact on Australia as well, because Australia is a big trade partner with China. So with this one here, big drop in copper, and looking for a further drop here. In terms of the pullback, look out for this 2.67 level, and then I'm looking for, we could get a further drop here. So bias is bearish. The move to watch out for would be something like this, 2.57 and then 2.52. Bitcoin here, I don't have the latest on like the weekend numbers here on Bitcoin, but overall here, this one has been moving higher, and but it's been dropping a bit here. So just keep this in mind. So this could be a pullback. but if it drops through this level, then it can go further. So right now it's looking more like a pullback. In terms of our weekly, as long as price stays above this 82.50, it's still in the upward trend here. Next target would be 89.80. Again, not based on the weekend numbers, but if it goes through the support level, we could see it go into 76.60, and then it could drop further towards the bottom of the support here. For now though, as long as it stays above 82.50, I will look for 89.80, and then 95.50 will be the next two targets. S&P 500, we finally saw a drop here. Price wasn't able to really break this resistance. It's been struggling with this resistance for several days now. And then we have a drop here. So with this one, a bias is bearish, but it doesn't look super negative at the moment. It is dropping, and I would look for a further drop here. I'd just be cautious. Market has, or the equities have been ignoring all kinds of warnings, and it hasn't really dropped on concerns. But if the virus becomes a bigger threat, we are likely to see a drop in equities across the board. So just bear that in mind. First target 32.65, second target 3200. So I am looking for a bearish move here. But like I said, markets have been ignoring all kinds of dovish news, so this could get ignored as well. But if it holds above 32.65, this one could go higher. But right now, my bias is bearish. 32.65 and then 3200 will be the targets. Same thing with Nasdaq here as well. It has been going up like gangbusters, but now finally we have a bearish pin bar here. So I will look for a drop. 89.50 will be the first target, and then 86.60 will be the second target here. So bearish bias for Nasdaq. Dow Jones here, this one is looking a little bearish here as well. We are right into support, so that's something to keep in mind. And once it gets through that, we are looking at 28,300, and then finally 27,690. So bearish bias for Dow Jones as well. And then we have DAX here. DAX is into resistance. The candle close here is neutral. This one could go in either direction, but if other equities start dropping, this one is likely to drop as well. For now though, this is neutral. So when I see a neutral candle, I'm looking for a break of either the high or the low of the candle. If it breaks through the resistance here, 13,800 will be the next target. But should it break through the support here, I'm looking for it to go back towards the bottom of this range here. And then first towards these pins, which is 13,100, and then finally towards the real bottom here, 12,950. So right now, neutral bias, and I'll just mark my levels and wait for market to show us what to do. FTSE here, FTSE is looking weak. We have a nice bearish candle close. It is still in that range that this has been trading in for weeks now. Hasn't really broken out of the range. It's reacting to the support level at this point, but bias is bearish. The caution would be if it doesn't drop through 75.30, it can go back up, and that's a concern because this is what it's been doing over the last little bit. Now, on the flip side though, bias is bearish, so once it drops, I would look for price to drop further. 74.50 is the first target, and then below that we have 73.80. So bearish bias here for FTSE as well. And then we have Nikkei here. Nikkei also went into resistance, and now we have a drop. So bias is bearish here. Next target would be 23,000. And then below that, we have 22,620. So bias is bearish for Nikkei as well. All right, so that's what I have. If you would like to get download the spreadsheet where I mark all the targets that we just discussed. You can go to tradingwithvenus.com/forecast and you can download that. If you have already signed up for that list once, you don't need to do it again. I will send it to you in an email once we are done here. And another thing, I am starting the Turning Pro Challenge again. So it is free. If you want to just follow along, you can go to tradingwithvenus.com. Turning Pro 2020 is the link, I believe. I will put it, I'm going to upload this video to YouTube and I'll put the link down there as well. So you can check that out. So that will start on February the 3rd. So starting next Monday, we will start the Turning Pro Challenge, where we will basically, I will show my account and we will track how I do over the course of the year. So if you're interested in that, you can join that. Like I said, it's free. But if you wanted to see all of my trades and as I enter them and have full behind the scenes access to my account, then you can join the trade wall. So basically the difference is with the free challenge, I'll be showing my account on a weekly basis. But if you wanted to look at it on a daily basis and also get everything else that comes with the trade vault, then you can join the trade vault. It's for, normally it's $1,500, but right now it's $997. But you will also get my course, which is normally I sell it for $500. So basically you get about $2,000 worth of stuff for $997. So that's it. Oh, and the link is, this is the link to join it if you're interested. All right, so that's all I have for now. You guys have a wonderful trading week and I'll see you again on Monday for the daily analysis. Bye for now.